oftentimes those conversations, when we have conversations about my tuition is too high, I can't afford this. I'm like, I'm doing the best I can. Have you reached out to your local politician and told him about the pain points that you're feeling?
Welcome to the Childcare channel and the Childcare channel podcast. Our intention is for this to be a space where we come together to elevate the childcare industry through community, inspiration, and innovation that will ultimately serve the healthy development of children and the people caring for them in the United States. My name is Jane Diaz, and I am your host. In today's episode, we're going to be focusing on 4K programs, on advocacy, and on a focus on staff in the child care center space. And to share with us on these topics, we have invited Brenda Moore Fritz. Brenda is a highly experienced early childhood educator with over 20 years of experience in the field. Brenda is passionate about creating a better environment for American children ages 0 to 5 to grow and develop, and has put that passion into action by opening a private 4K kindergarten program and an NAEYC accredited childcare and preschool facility that supports 165 children daily and provides 4K for the school district. The facility, known as the Big Red Barn, is in memory of Brenda and her husband's childhood on dairy farms. Despite current childcare industry challenges, Brenda shows great optimism about the future of the early childhood field and is committed to leaving a legacy of highly trained leaders and teachers for the industry. Brenda is also an advocate for the field, and it's working to raise awareness and building community to improve the broken childcare industry in the United States. Clearly, Brenda's initiatives are very aligned with the mission of the channel, so it is my pleasure to have this conversation today with Brenda. Brenda, welcome to the channel.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here.
So, Brenda, before we get started on the other topics we mentioned earlier, I want people to get to know you a little bit. What's Brenda about? How did she even get into this wonderful, wonderful world of childcare?
Well, it was after I had my own children that I realized the magic of the early childhood years. I have a formal degree in secondary education. And once I had children of my own, I just was overwhelmed with the increased potential in education and support and how much more you could do for a person in their entire lifespan if you got to them in the early childhood years. So as an educator, I pivoted and kind of went to an area from, rather than take care of the senior high kid, I went to the early childhood field when I returned back to work and just was part of that magic.
And I know that you shared with me the inspiration for the Red Barn. So tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah. So part of our hashtag or our passion is we nurture childhood at the Academy of Little Viking. So when I thought about the design build of the facility, my husband and I talked about our childhood memories, which we both grew up on dairy farms in Wisconsin. And so the Big Red Barn just became a immediate attraction for solidifying that childhood memory and understanding the work that we do and how childhood is such a small domain in a person's human life, but it has big impact, over the lifespan. So we have a big barn. We have a sign on the front door that says we're happy to say our children were raised in a barn and play up the agrarian theme a lot here.
I love it. I love it. And I do want to ask you a little bit more about your motto. So nurturing childhood. So tell us what you mean by that.
Well, I think people in group childcare centers, sometimes the ones that I have worked in the past, overlook the big, like the elephant in the room, and the fact that every day we are tasked with the opportunity to add to childhood memories. Some children spend 40, 50 hours a week in group childcare centers. So we really focus on trying to make sure the memories are fun and solid and build on the interests of the children that we're serving. So We make sure that we bring in outside people. We have a local musician that comes in and does music with the children every Tuesday. We have a guy that comes in on Fridays and does a special jump bunch program. So they're learning 12 different sports, within the context of a year. All things that, you would want your child to have exposure to, but because you're working or because schedule conflict, they can't get access to. Our center really tries to have people and also take the kids out on field trips more to get access to what they would do if their mom and dad stayed home with them and did activities with them at home. So we're really trying to make sure that their childhood memories are like, I remember when I went to the barn and I sang a song with Mr. Corey, and things like that. We want to be part of that special moment for them.
I love it. I love it. Nurturing childhood. And, I do agree with you. And I say this often here at the channel, which is the adult is formed during the first 7 years of childhood. It's mind boggling to me that here in the United States, because I can't speak for other countries, but here in the United States, the childcare industry in the space and particularly in the space of preschools childcare centers is struggling so much when really they are the most
Yep.
important years in a
Yep.
child's life, So I love to see that you have this huge focus on what I sounds like social emotional learning, right? As
Yep.
well in your
Yep.
small children. And I know that you're huge into advocacy right now. And I did come across a recent article where you were featured in the Wisconsin Journal. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about and kind of what you're advocating for at the time?
Sure. Sure. So for the last year and a half, Wisconsin has been very generous in supporting the child care centers through the Child Care Act money or the child care stabilization. That is set to go away by the end of this year. And those funds were very critical in stabilizing and helping us reduce the amount of tuition increases families would have to incur as the wages rose in order to attract and retain high quality teachers. My teachers have experienced an additional $500 a month in addition to their regular salary as a result of these funds. And I'm worried for our field, and I'm worried about child care centers in general in Wisconsin when this funding goes away, because that is going to be a huge financial blow. I would have to, in order to replace that $500 bonus, I would have to substantially increase tuition, which, I still feel is getting to the point where it's stretching parents too much as it is. And it's another layer where I worry about additional closures. I think in Wisconsin in 2020, after the pandemic, 25% of all group child care centers closed until we started getting these funds. And now we have a problem attracting and retaining staff as a result of the amount of money that we can pay in childcare, which is based solely off of, what we can bring in on tuition. I do worry that at the end of this year, Wisconsin will probably experience another lash of closing of group centers if this funding completely goes away and we can't continue some source of funding for the childcare industry here.
Mm. And I know that that is a situation that a lot of states, even beyond Wisconsin, are facing. So let me ask you, in your experience, what do you think are some things that can be done since now to help?
Wisconsin, I'm a really proud Wisconsinite, and I take community and state very much to the heart. I really believe that the administration and the politicians will not let the child care centers fall through the cracks. We've identified that we were and are an essential part of the infrastructure. And that, I hope that when they start looking at funding for 2024, that they will continue to be like, we need to keep childcare as a focus because we know our workforce can't work if we don't have childcare. We've already experienced that in 2020 when we've had so much closure with other facilities and people struggling. I'm hoping and I'm confident that the administration that is currently in charge of Wisconsin will help us maybe move that needle to stabilize and continue funding. I'm not sure at the federal level if that's a focus, but I'm very optimistic that the forces at our local level in Wisconsin will help keep us in the loop.
Very nice. I do hope that that is the case. Is there anything that we can do on a social level? So obviously, the state and maybe even hopefully at the federal level, there's a lot that can be done there. Is there anything that you think that people outside of that can do to help move this along?
I think just continuing to talk to politicians and especially families who are struggling either to find childcare because I have a wait list of over 85 children. I would like to entertain an expansion program, but I can't because I'm not sure I'd be able to find the staffing for it. But I feel like parents have been a silent voice that needs to start talking to more politicians and more people about how difficult it is to obtain and also then just continue to pay for childcare. There are people here that pay more for their children to attend my center than I pay for my UW Madison college students to attend college for a year, which I think, that's pretty overwhelming when you start to compare a college education to childcare. So I do think that it's got to be a parent directed motion. I mean, childcare centers can speak onto the business side of things, but a voice that I don't hear a lot from is the parent, talking about the overwhelming taxing the childcare system is the way it is right now because it's definitely broken for them.
And let me ask you something because I know that you have quite a few parents in your childcare center that you interact with. Is there anything that you're doing with them to, number one, and educate them and encourage them to have more of an active voice?
Yeah, we actually are in Wisconsin. We have on February 13th, there is a big advocacy event taking place in Madison. So I shared that out with them and said, hey, this is an opportunity they're hoping to have like a lot of people show up to draw attention to the fact that childcare is something that continues to need to be supported. We share out the State Journal article that I was in talking about the potential cliff that the childcare industry is facing with the ending of its funding. I have to have crucial conversations with parents when they're like, why is my tuition going up? And I'm like, I need to pay staff, but maybe if you could talk to your local politician about continuing the childcare funding or, finding funding for parents and relief in tuition on the parent side. Oftentimes I'm like, I'm doing the best I can, but I need more people to help me. And oftentimes those conversations, when we have conversations about my tuition is too high, I can't afford this. I'm like, I'm doing the best I can. Have you reached out to your local politician and told him about the pain points that you're feeling?
Well, so definitely we here at the channel, one of our big intentions is to really support these types of initiatives. So if you're watching this right now and whether you're a parent or you yourself are in some kind of field related to childcare, we encourage you, as Brenda just mentioned to us, we encourage you to speak up and to reach out to your local, state, and government representatives to drive some of these initiatives to be implemented that are going to help have better staffing and more childcare trained professionals to be able to educate young children here in the United States. And of course, if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to the Childcare channel because the more people we have who are part of this conversation, the more relevant the attention will be and the higher the chance that government officials will do something about to help the childcare industry. So, Brenda, let's get back to the structure here. I know that you have 4K model currently in your center, which is not something that every childcare center has. So tell us a little bit about what that means and, what are the benefits really of having a 4K education?
So we are a collaborating partner with the Mount Horeb School District. And what we do is we provide programs 4-year-old kindergarten program for them. The model allows us to have our own PI teacher, and the school district pays us a stipend per child to educate the child for the school year. We get access to what I feel is like the most powerful thing that 4K in a childcare center provides is the district actually starts looking at supporting special education needs of those children that are getting 4K at our center. Oftentimes, childcare centers were unable to have resources such as a special ed teacher or a speech teacher, or have somebody be looking at a child that might benefit from occupational therapy. Now that 4K is in the childcare center, these special ed services come right to our center and support alongside our regular DPI teacher, which obviously, as we know, the sooner we get support for children who need special ed services, the more we can reduce the expenditure later and we catch things earlier. It's had some spillover for us too, because we will identify maybe children in our 3-year-old program. And now we're able to say to the district special ed teacher who comes in, hey, we need some resources for this 3-year-old. And then, the school district can also help our lay teachers with some instruction for supporting students who may be having challenging behaviors even. It doesn't even have to be a speech or related thing. So it's definitely created a lot of additional educational opportunities for the lay teacher in a childcare center and provided resources, which help me reduce staff burnout because now I have somebody that I can bounce ideas off of that actually has knowledge in that background. The other great thing about 4K in a childcare center is it reduces the number of transitions for a child. That 4K program is only Tuesdays through Fridays for about 3 hours. Now the child will just be able to stay here the whole day, do childcare before or after his or her 4K program. He gets to do lunch here, gets to take nap here, and it just becomes more of a calming, day for that child, and probably and more importantly, probably helps him with learning. And it's not, oh, I busted him out and I busted him back and I busted him out and stuff like that. So it's more stabilizing for the child. And we feel that it's definitely for our district, we've already been able to see numbers that, our kids are more ready for kindergarten because of this 4K program. So, and the district also gets a heads up on who maybe some children that need special services for when they get to the formal kindergarten program. They've already maybe even worked with them before they got in there. Financially, it also provides a stipend per child for each child that we have. And then we also have a multiplier in that we can charge for childcare, which is optional on the backside. So we're creating a more stable business model to better fund the center and stabilize the center as well.
That sounds really awesome. I wonder in other states how they manage the 4K situation. So if you're watching and you have a childcare center and you're in a different state, we'd love to know in the comments how your state approaches 4K education. And if you have it, and if you don't, would you consider it? Do you see it beneficial? Curious to know in the comments here of this episode. So, Brenda, I know you've mentioned staffing is a bit of a challenge, like it is for, many guests here on the channel have shared the same thing. And I know that this is an industry-wide situation right now. And so, but what you mentioned to me that was even more interesting is something that you realized in your 8 years of running a center, that thanks to everything that happened with post-pandemic and all of that, you made a big shift when it comes to your staff. So can you share with us a bit about that?
Sure. I don't want to say that I was grateful that COVID happened at all, but I like to take lessons from everything that I run into. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned was the importance of the supporting of our staff. Prior to that, I kind of always thought, oh, the customer's always right. I don't have too much formal business training. So that was something that I'd always heard. But once I started to think about what we do here, it became like a light bulb moment for me when I said, oh, you know what? If I pour as much added value and support into my teachers as I possibly can, I know the children and families will be served best. So we definitely, I feel like, kind of turned our model around and said, our top star in our organization is our employee. And we are going to make sure we can spend as much time, money, and resources on them to help retain them and help them make them better teachers. And it's been a huge game changer for us ever since then. We just recently got our W-2s in the mail, and my HR director said, "This is the first year where I have, like, basically no W-2s that I have to mail out to somebody who no longer works for us." We've been very successful in the retention of the staff, I believe, with this new cultural shift and our mantra to get after supporting staff. We do weekly one-on-one with our director because we oftentimes we don't have time to talk to each other. We all have to be in our little silos during a childcare day, but we make sure it's intentional, that they are pulled out and given an opportunity to just talk personally, professionally about what's going on with them. I feel the one-on-ones has been also something that they appreciate. We also identify, like, if they are getting burned out, we identify that sooner, and then we, start circling them with, like, what are some resources that we can give them. So it's just a lot. It was a huge game changer. It just gets to connection sooner and faster with our teachers when we're intentionally telling them, you are our number one priority. All other things in this building are second, because we understand if we give them our best, everybody below gets what they need.
I love that. And I'm sure that that is felt too by the children that they take care of. Can you share with us some, maybe if you have any, some examples about anything you might have noticed differently when it comes to the teacher's involvement with the children that they serve directly?
I just recently we have staff meetings every second Tuesday, and this we're also doing a professional development this Friday where the center's closed and we're doing professional development. So I told the staff last Tuesday, hey, you know what? We're still going to close at 5, but, if you want to go home early and take some personal time for yourself, I feel free to do that. If you want to stay and work on your classroom or work with your co-teacher, feel free to do that. It's kind of whatever works best for you. I can honestly tell you, for the first time in my 8 years of running the center, the majority of staff stayed and worked that extra hour because they wanted to, spend that time with their co-teacher, strategize curriculum, think about what they're going to do on Friday, because we will have about 3 hours of free time where they can work on their room. So they kind of had an opportunity to talk without small children running around about how they want to optimize their time on Friday. And, I left the building before they did, which I was like, I got home and I said to my husband, this is so incredible. They're so engaged. They want to do better for their children, for their classroom. And I mean, I was actually in tears on the way home because the only thing I can think of is because we really show them daily how important they are. It gives them energy to step up and be important, just that important to their children.
I love that. I mean, this could be so beneficial to perhaps you watching this. If you have a childcare business and maybe you could learn some practices from what Brenda has just shared with us that could be implemented to always improve when it comes to management of staff. And I'm so happy to see, Brenda, the real results that you've been able to witness so far after having implemented this initiative of really putting your employees first. And so
Mhm.
I want to ask you specifically, if you were to summarize, if you have somebody right now who like many other businesses out there, right, are still customer is always right, customer always comes first. What are maybe some quick tips that you could share with them to make this transition?
Sure. It was the biggest game changer that I've seen. I'm not saying that I don't listen to our parents. That I'm not, paying attention to what their feedback is. But what we do here is really hard work. And it's just I have zero parent complaints about my staff. I, it's just been so miraculous as to once you pay attention and kind of shine up what really is your crown jewel, which I believe was another thing that COVID showed employers is how important staff is as an asset to your business. And I'm not trying to make them sound like something I could put in my bank account, but just the true asset of who's really doing this work here. It's not me. It's my staff. And I have to be very thankful and very grateful that they are willing to give up their portion of their time and their life to do the hard work that we do in early childhood education. And just being very humble and thankful. And we do things like we know this is hard. We have a process where if a teacher is really frustrated in a room, she is allowed to give a tap out notice and we come in, no judgment. We give her time to regroup. It's setting up our people for success it definitely has like a ripple effect in the success of the business if you can really shine and rub the rock that you got.
Mm. I have to really acknowledge you for this work that you're doing and everything that you've already implemented at your center because I mean, you're very human centric in the fact that I love this tap out idea for the teachers where they can tap out and they can have a moment without feeling judged because at the end of the day, that's what we want, right? We want to be
Mhm.
loved and accepted and validated, which is a key word, right? We want to be validated for who we are, right? And so the fact that you give your teachers the space to have these moments and it's okay, right? It's
Mhm.
amazing because we know that childcare, unlike any other, I would say, unlike most jobs out there, if you're a teacher of small children, it's not like you could just, step out of the classroom and go and if you need to use the bathroom, let's say.
Yep.
If you need to use,
Yeah.
I don't know if people realize, and, if you're watching this and you're not too familiar with actual the childcare center operations, if you're watching this, you know that for a teacher of small children to take a bathroom break, they need to ask for permission or ask for coverage, I should say, right? And
Yep.
so
Yep.
it's not like it's a more stressful type of environment than, your average office job or any other job out there. So the
Mhm.
fact that you give them this space is just amazing. And I hope that this would inspire other childcare businesses who don't do this to also create this for their staff. All right, Brenda. Well, this is amazing. Where can people find you? This has been so great. If they have any questions or, would like to say hi to you, where can they find you?
Sure. Well, our website is www.littleviking4k.com. My email is on there as well, and you can learn a little bit more about our facility and the programs that we have available. It's a pretty nice website, pretty user friendly, and we love to hear feedback from anybody about the building or any questions that they have about our facility.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Brenda, we're reaching the end here of our time together. And there's something that we like to do at the end with all the guests, which is a little game we call Three in a Beat. And this game is one where I ask you a question and you get to answer in either just one word or one short sentence at the maximum. You ready to
Okay,
play?
I'm ready.
All right. Last book you read.
Let's see. Traction.
Awesome. I don't know that one. We'll have to look that one up. Who is it by? Do you remember?
I'm really bad at authors' names, but it's a business book about basically kind of how you get things going and start, moving forward.
All right. Second question. What do you think is the number one skill small children today need to learn?
Social emotional.
Amazing. And then question number three. What would you say it's the legacy that you want to leave?
Nurturing childhood.
Nurturing childhood. I love it. It's in alignment with everything that you stand for in your motto. So amazing,
Mhm.
Brenda. You're such an amazing soul. I can feel it through the camera. I feel like, I've known you for a long time. So I really want to appreciate you for taking the time to be here with us at the channel. And I want to ask you now, is there anything else that you want to share before we disconnect for the day?
I just would like to take a shout out to all of the childcare owners and teachers out there and say thank you for all the good work you're doing and all the good things you have yet to do. Thank you.
Amazing. And you watching, thank you for being here. If you made it this far, please, if you like this, share it. Share it with anybody that you think would benefit from everything that Brenda has shared with us today. It would really be helpful for us if you would be able to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. That way we can build a bigger community and get more attention to be actually able to have a bigger impact in improving the currently broken childcare industry in the United States. So Brenda, thank you once again. And you watching, we will see you in the next interview.